What if the exhaustion you feel after leaving certain conversations has absolutely nothing to do with how busy your day was, how little sleep you got, or how many responsibilities you are carrying on your shoulders? What if that bone-deep, soul-level tiredness is actually your body sending you the most important message it has ever tried to send you, a message that your nervous system, your heart, and every single cell inside your body has been screaming at you for years, but you have been too polite, too guilty, too afraid of being called selfish to actually listen to it? What if feeling drained is not weakness? What if it is wisdom? What if your exhaustion is not a flaw, but a compass, pointing you directly toward the truth about which connections are feeding your soul and which ones are slowly, quietly, invisibly stealing it? Because today, we are going to talk about something that changes everything, the real reason certain people leave you empty. And once you understand this, you will never see your relationships, your energy, or yourself the same way again. So stay with me, because what I am about to share will make you rethink every single person in your life. What if the most exhausting thing in your entire life is not your workload, not your deadlines, not your endless responsibilities, but a person? What if the heaviest weight you carry every single day does not live in your schedule, but in your relationships? What if you have been blaming yourself for being tired, for being drained, for being emotionally empty, when the real answer has been standing right in front of you this entire time? Today, we are going to go somewhere real, somewhere uncomfortable, somewhere most people are too afraid to go, because the truth about why certain people drain your energy is not just psychological, it is deeply human, it is profoundly personal, and once you understand it, it will change the way you live your life forever. There is something happening inside your body every single time you walk into a room with certain people. Your nervous system, that ancient, brilliant, wildly intelligent system inside you, begins picking up signals before your conscious mind has even registered what is happening. Science calls this emotional contagion. Your body is literally catching the emotions of the people around you like a virus. You walk in feeling fine, feeling whole, feeling like yourself, and you walk out feeling hollow, heavy, and completely unrecognizable to yourself. And the devastating part, most people spend years blaming themselves for this. They think, what is wrong with me? Why am I so sensitive? Why can I not just be stronger? But here's what I want you to understand with every fiber of your being: your sensitivity is not your weakness. Your sensitivity is your superpower. Your body is not broken. Your body is brilliantly, magnificently doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is protecting you, it is warning you, it is telling you the truth about the connection you are in, and the question is, are you brave enough to listen? Now let us talk about something that most people have never heard of, but every single person in this room has experienced. It is called a vulnerability hangover. And it happens when certain people in your life, whether they mean to or not, pull more from you than you ever intended to give. They ask questions that make you over-explain yourself. They create environments where you feel like you constantly have to justify your existence, your feelings, your choices, your worth, and so you give, you talk more than you wanted to. You share more than felt safe. You perform a version of openness that did not come from courage, but from pressure. And then you leave that conversation feeling like you just ran an emotional marathon, completely stripped bare, wondering why you feel so ashamed of your own honesty. That shame, that particular specific gut-wrenching exhaustion is not random. It is a signal. It is your authentic self telling you that the connection you just experienced was not safe, was not reciprocal, and was not worthy of the most vulnerable parts of who you are. Because here is the truth that changes everything. Vulnerability is only powerful when it is met with empathy, when your openness is met with judgment, with comparison, with silence, with dismissal. It does not create connection, it creates wounds. And healing those wounds takes every ounce of energy you have. Let us talk about shame, because this is where it gets really important, really uncomfortable, and really truly life-changing. Certain people in our lives are what I call shame activators. They do not always do it loudly. They do not always do it obviously. Sometimes it is the most subtle thing in the world: a raised eyebrow, a comparison disguised as a compliment, a question wrapped in judgment, a silence that speaks louder than any words ever could. And when shame is activated inside you, your entire system goes into emergency mode. Your brain begins working overtime, trying to protect you, trying to manage the narrative, trying to make yourself acceptable, trying to survive the interaction without losing your dignity. And that process, that constant, exhausting, invisible process of fighting shame, takes everything from you. It takes your joy, it takes your creativity, it takes your peace, it takes your sense of self. And when the interaction is over, you are left standing there wondering why a 30-minute conversation with someone left you needing 3 days to recover. That is shame. That is what it does to a human body. That is what it costs you every single time you walk into a room where you do not feel fundamentally, unconditionally worthy. Now I want to talk about connection, because this is where I think we get it most wrong in our culture. We have confused presence with connection. We think that because someone is physically in our life, because they call us, because they show up at events, because they have been there for years, we think that equals connection. But real connection, the kind that fills you up, the kind that sends you home feeling more like yourself than when you arrived, real connection requires something very specific. It requires that both people show up. It requires reciprocity. It requires that when you bring your true self into the space, the other person brings their true self to meet you there. When that does not happen, when the exchange is one-sided, when you give and give and give and receive nothing but criticism, advice you did not ask for, or the deafening sound of being unseen, you leave every single interaction with a deficit. You leave with less than you came with. And over time, interaction after interaction, month after month, year after year, that deficit compounds. That is not relationship, that is depletion. That is you slowly, invisibly, painfully disappearing. Here is something else I need you to hear, and I need you to hear it deeply. Around certain people, you put on armor. You do it automatically. You do it before you even realize it is happening. Your walls go up, your words become calculated, your laughter becomes performed, your smile becomes a mask, and you spend the entire interaction not being yourself, but managing yourself, carefully monitoring every word, every expression, every emotion, making absolutely sure that nothing real escapes. Because somewhere along the way, you learn that being real around this person is not safe. And that management, that constant, exhausting, soul-crushing performance of a version of yourself that is not actually you, is the most draining thing a human being can do. Because it requires you to simultaneously be two people, the real you, locked away somewhere safe, and the performed you, doing the work of surviving the interaction. That double existence is exhausting in a way that sleep cannot fix, in a way that vacation cannot cure, in a way that no amount of self-care can touch, because the wound is not in your body, it is in your soul. And finally, I want to talk about boundaries, because I think this word gets misunderstood in the most damaging way. People think boundaries are walls. People think boundaries are about keeping others out. But boundaries are not about walls. Boundaries are about doors. Boundaries are about you deciding who gets access to your most precious resource, which is your authentic, whole, vulnerable self. Boundaries are you saying, this is what I will do. This is what I will not do. This is what is okay with me. This is what is not, and meaning it and holding it and honoring it, not because you are cruel, not because you are selfish, but because you understand that you cannot pour from an empty vessel. And here is the devastating truth about people who drain your energy. They are often people who have never respected a boundary in their lives. Not because they are monsters, not because they are villains, but because somewhere in their own story, their boundaries were never respected either. Their pain is real, their struggle is real, but their struggle is not yours to carry. Their healing is not your responsibility. And choosing yourself, choosing your energy, choosing your peace, choosing the people who fill you up is not abandonment, it is survival, it is wisdom. It is the most courageous act of self-love you will ever perform. You are allowed to choose who gets access to you. You are allowed to walk away from interactions that consistently leave you empty. You are allowed to love people from a distance. You are allowed to say, this person is not safe for my soul, and that is enough of a reason. You do not need to justify it. You do not need to explain it. You do not need anyone's permission. Your energy is yours, your peace is yours, your wholeness is yours, and it is worth protecting with everything you have. So here is what I want you to take from everything we have explored together today. You are not too sensitive. You are not too emotional. You are not weak because certain people leave you exhausted and empty. You are a human being with a brilliantly wired nervous system that is doing its job perfectly, warning you, guiding you, protecting you, pointing you toward the connections that honor your worth and away from the ones that diminish it. The exhaustion you feel is not a flaw in your character. It is a feature of your humanity. It is your body's most honest language, and learning to listen to it, truly, bravely, unapologetically listen to it, is one of the greatest gifts you will ever give yourself. Choose connection that fills you. Choose people who see you. Choose relationships where you can be fully, messily, beautifully yourself, because you were not born to perform. You were born to belong, and belonging, real belonging, should never cost you your energy, your peace, or your soul. Protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because in the deepest, most meaningful sense, it absolutely does.